Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Buddy Study Group for Worksite Solutions. And today we're joined by Griffin Kelly. And Griffin works with Cariloop. And Cariloop is an interesting company, very similar to maybe other um, service providers that you've seen out there. But Cariloop is a company that works for caregivers. And all of us on this call, we very much have a heart for caregivers. So any company, any solution that crops up to help caregivers manage their day to day and help them reduce burnout and stress is something that we are absolutely a fan of. So Griffin is going to walk us through who Cariloop is, what they do, and their relationship with Trustmark. So employees who enroll in Life Plus Care plans through Trustmark also are offered Cariloop as an added service. So Griffin, I really appreciate you being here with us today. I really love what you guys do and excited to hear more. So you can take it away whenever you're ready.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate Drew, Mark giving me the invite and the spotlight. And yeah, nice to meet everybody. I was on the road. I just so I look like I'm in witness protection. I'm in a hotel in beautiful Cleveland, Ohio right now. But yeah, typically situated in Chicagoland area. I've been at Cariloop now for about 3 years. I came from the benefits administration space. I worked at Aon, and then before that, or after that, I worked at Alight. Came over here. I lead up our strategic partnerships function, which again, Trustmark for us is kind of our premier partnership, I would say, just from a carrier perspective that we have. And really, yeah, it's I am also a caregiver, like Jason, you mentioned. I have a 19-month-old on a personal note, so I live and breathe caregiving every day. I'm a user of Cariloop. I've used that to find my nanny. I've used that to find her a speech therapist recently. So I am a big believer in what we do. I am a living use case of what we do. But yeah, and it's really cool to appreciate you guys giving me a little bit of airtime to talk about our story and kind of our story with Trustmark and how it's developed. And it's interesting. Kayla's been around. We've been around for 14 years, and truthfully, I think we've been circling around a Trustmark partnership for about 10 of those 14 years. So we naturally saw our CEO, Michael Walsh, just the intersection point between what Trustmark was bringing out to the market and what Cariloop's North Star was from helping caregivers, and just a lot of the volume transparently that we got from an inquiry perspective was surrounding long-term care and how do I use my benefit? What does it mean for me? What does it mean for my family? So there's just a natural synergy and partnership that kind of bred itself over a number of years. But Cariloop at our core, we do comprehensive caregiving support. Jason's point around taking the load or lightening the load on people's shoulders for caregiving, that is a huge focus area for us. When you think about our mission, it is really to try to reduce the burden and anxiety that is associated with caregiving. So there is a lot that goes into it and a lot of logistics. I will say, and let me go ahead and share my screen here. Um, did that work? For some reason, this deck is not pulling up in PowerPoint for me, but hopefully that you guys can see the caregiving conversation.
Does? Yep.
All right. Um, so just from a framing perspective, right? Caregiving is everywhere. Three-fourths of the US is impacted by caregiving in some capacity. And, when you think about especially the elder care side, which I'm going to spend the most time in because that's really where the root of our partnership sits, it's coming fast and furious. We've got an aging population and a dwindling care supply. And so what that's going to mean is A, not enough caregivers, or B, for the ones that exist, they're going to be expensive. So it's going to create a financial wellness hurricane at some point in the future here. And that number is staggering when you think about this by the time 2030 rolls around and the number of folks under the age of 16 or 18 versus over the age of 65. And that really is going to set the course for a need. And it's there, it's been emerging, and that's something that Michael, our CEO, saw 14 years ago was he went through it himself. That's actually how Cariloop started was Michael went through his own elder care journey with his grandfather, where Michael became the primary caretaker given his family situation, and he had two working parents. And he just saw firsthand at how hard it was, whether it was insurance, whether it was Medicare, whether it was providers, medication, everything was hard. And he'd be the first person to tell you that the time he spent in the logistical side of caregiving, he would have rather have spent with his grandfather in his last days, following an aneurysm. So that was how we started. We started as a very mission-driven organization, still to this day, that is essentially kind of our mission. And we support folks on a B2B basis. So we do have employer relationships, separate from a trust mark relationship. We do work as an employer-sponsored benefit to employees from like a total rewards point of view. But our trust mark relationship, as I mentioned, has really been the premier relationship. And it's been one that we've had in place since March of 2025. But like I said, we've been working on this for 6 to 7 years preceding that. So again, for us, it's as part of the Trustmark life and long-term care policyholders in a net new capacity from that 3/1/25 inception date, all have access to Cariloop by way of the partnership. And that is really something that Trustmark has made the investment in. It's a way that they differentiate their solutions and services in their markets through Cariloop. So it's not a pass-through cost or something that they're passing on by way of an increased premium or something in that aspect. It really is an investment that Trustmark has made to help differentiate themselves in their markets. For us, in terms of what it includes, Cariloop is kind of a dualistic model of technology and human support. So, from a platform point of view, we have unlimited digital access for anybody who is a policyholder. And the way I look at the digital platform is really the brains of the caregiving operation. It's one singular location to administer all the things pertinent to offering care, whether that's medication management, provider repositories, doctor's notes, policy documents, schedules for, especially in the elder care space. And it includes then also 1 month of sponsored coaching. And we've defined 1 month as a 30-day sequential period with which an individual policyholder can interact with one of our coaches in more of that one-to-one human touch capacity. And our coaches, are unique. They are full-time employees of Cariloop. They're not a call center or a subcontractor model. Full-time employees across a variety of backgrounds and accreditations, from registered nurses to social workers to dementia practitioners, community health experts. So again, a very specialized set of folks who policyholders then have the ability to interact with on a monthly basis. And should they need more support above and beyond that 1 month, they're able to self-pay at a negotiated rate between us and Trustmark. Um, so they do have access to the platform in a 24/7 capacity. Our coaches do work standard business hours, 8 to 6, but we always say that our coaches do make themselves available to families whenever they may need them. You might have four siblings taking care of mom, and you can only meet on a Sunday night. They do that. They readily make themselves available and work with the families or the individuals on scheduling. So you've got a lot of opportunity to interact with them and with Cariloop. Um, from a platform perspective, happy to walk anybody else through it if you want to see like a formal demo. Always happy to go through that at some point. But personalized tools and resources that are, again, pertinent to the individual. I think the nice thing I would call out is you can have multiple cases open at one point in the journey. So you can have, two, three, seven, whatever that may be. It's not just one case at a time. And you have the ability to invite others into your case, quote unquote. So if others are helping you take care of an individual and you want them to have access to a Cariloop portal with their own account, they can do that, create that, and be a part of the experience alongside you and your caregiving journey. The coaching aspect, they meet them in whatever mode or medium is best fitting for them and their families. So they can, again, be video, telephonic, case management through the platform, text, whatever that need is. They meet them, with whatever channel makes the most sense, and support them more in that dedicated aspect where the first time someone is calling Cariloop, they're matched with that coach and they stay with that coach. It's not a call center where they get someone else every other time. We're big believers that trust is built and foundational to caregiving. So they build that trust and rapport with their coach over time as they work with them. Um, the one other thing I would call out too is just around coaching is it is an annualized 1 month limit. So every year that 1 month resets itself. So then everybody then would have access at that point again to another 1 month of cases. Oh, sorry, I saw the chat pop up, Jason. Thanks. Um, the subsequential year and there onwards. So just so you can keep that, when you think about longer term contracts or agreements with Trustmark. Um, the last piece I would just add is around the types of support. So again, this is not meant to be exhaustive by any means, but it's the level of care with which we're providing folks. So a lot of the time it's around sourcing and vetting of providers or facilities. It could also be as, foundational as mom just got diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I don't even know where to start. Like, what do we talk about with aging in place versus aging independently? When do I have to start to think about hospice? Like all those types of conversations can happen directly with the coach. Or on the technology side, there are articles and resources available to them that are really easy for them to navigate and understand. Um, Everything in here also thinking about like even VA benefits, Medicare, understanding how to enroll in Medicare, how do I use it to the best of my ability, all of those components. Post-life support, grief support, bereavement, all of those components also encapsulated under here. As well as just, I would be remiss not to call out adult care also is a part of this. So if you have, sometimes we have members or policyholders who have their own caregiving situation where they need help and care for themselves. We do see that also often where they may not be the primary owner of the case, their spouse might be, but they're taking care of them, as the policyholder with access to Cariloop. So very exhaustive. Right now, I will say it is adult and elder care focused. Not to tease out what I think next year might look like, but I do think that there is a pretty realistic world where next year, Trustmark looks at adding two other service lines that Cariloop represents, which would be pediatrics and child care, and then education and neurodiversity support as well. So we are working through that on more of the enterprise level, but I wouldn't be shocked to see those service lines also included next year. But just for now, it is elder care focused today. Uh, I'll pause there, see if there's any questions.
So there was a question about Cariloop as a service beyond in addition to an employee benefit plan like Life Plus Care. How do you guys normally work in those capacities?
You mean more like on the so we don't have
Just
a voluntary model, so there's no like straight D2C, like someone could go buy Cariloop on the open market. It's going to be through either a carrier relationship or most of our business sits as like a B2B employer relationship where they're funding Cariloop and rolling it out to their employees.
gotcha. Gotcha. So I hope that answers your question, Mark. Generally workplace only here.
Um, but yeah, I mean that's kind of us in a nutshell in terms of how we work with Trustmark, how we, approach the market. But any questions or clarifications I can help address?
I would love to know what sort of um, case studies that you guys may have of like a very specific type of support you may have provided to a customer that's enlightening.
Sure. Yeah, let me switch decks here. Sorry, I've got a few different things. Let me see if I've got one readily available. Uh,
And then I think Drew, I know you are on the line. If there's anything that you want to add as far as like enrollment process with groups you've enrolled with Cariloop, how the process kind of plays out on your end after Griffin gives a a case study or two.
Sure. As
Yeah.
Go ahead, Griff.
No, you go, Drew. Go for it.
Process is fairly straightforward. So during an implementation, we would include, care loop information that we could push out JSON to the customer and the employees, whether we send it through a quick video or some PDFs of how the product works. Uh, that happens at that point, and then subsequently, at the end of the implementation, we make sure that employees know how to contact Cariloop and have that set up pretty seamlessly in the end of our implementation process.
Perfect.
Yeah. And just to give you guys some insight, from a case study perspective. Yeah, this is a good one we used a lot in the elder care space. Is just supporting a parent with dementia. So again, talking about the balance of work and life, when we think about value framing, it is in that vein of burnout, productivity, absenteeism, some of those components. But this is a progressive dementia case that presented itself. Um, you know, this starts from like diagnostic all the way through kind of the process. So the coach started more on the diagnostic side, understanding the father's condition, what he's going through, his routines, the safety concerns, any support available, and then also just talked about priorities. So typically, our first call is always diagnostic. Where are you at? What's the situation? Resources available? Those types of questions, and then it's to start to put a plan together. Explore what options are available from like a memory care point of view versus in home. Talk about licensing history, staffing models. Our coaches, we like to say they speak the language that meets the family the most efficiently. So some families may know a ton of what they're talking about because they've been living it and breathing it for a long time before they get to a coach. Others, that may be the first time they're talking about this and picking it up. So they try to understand where that level of knowledge in terms of the thinking about insurance and the types of providers, those types of areas. Then we start to learn about benefits and coverage, so understand what that person has available to them from a Medicare or a Medicaid perspective. Talking about community, that is one thing that, like in the dementia example, like support groups, adult day programs, they find out like transportation services, meal delivery prep, all of those areas to just root out some isolationism. Um, and then, this strength and advocacy and alignment, that is really about some of the use cases I've showed of like multiple siblings maybe are taking care of this father and they want to be invited to use the Care Loop experience. They get all the communication into one place. And then ultimately, you see that they found a placement for dad. And that coach then helps them make that transition, whether it's talking about the coordination efforts, what to prepare, move in lists, some of those types of components. So this is actually a real example. This is a true case study for one of our employer clients. But again, you can kind of see how multifaceted our service approach is with our coach.
Awesome. So we do have questions about just like the nature of attachment to the Life Plus Care sale. Just asking, included or additional cost on top. Just any extra clarification you have there would be wonderful.
Yes, it's automatically included. You
Yeah.
don't need to request it. It's not an option to exclude it, pretty much.
Awesome. Okay. Um, Now, I know this can have a wide variety of applications, but have either of you, Drew or Griffin, seen that particular groups really gravitate to Cariloop and really find that they're making good use of it right out of the gate, or have reported back really good experiences in general, would be more inclined to gravitate toward it.
I know, Drew, you. I mean, at least we've done a few QBRs now with the broader Trustmark team, and yeah, all the feedback we've gotten has been flying colors. People love it. They're really excited about it. it's building, I think, some generational loyalty to Trustmark, right? This is a benefit that can cross over generations. And I think it's been helping in that aspect of like, hey, my, provider is doing this for me. Like, this is great. So all the feedback I've heard, both anecdotally and quantified, is very strong so far. I
You're
think you're on
muted,
mute.
Drew.
I would add 2 points to that. One, it would line up with a group that's most interested in our life plus care. So when brokers and agents and consultants are looking at prospects, it's the groups that we talked about, high female content, HR people who have at least two or three in their department possibly that see the real caregiving need and the lost productivity with these types of stressful situations. And then certainly employer groups that require people to go back to work now to like a bricks and mortar building. That's certainly having an impact now that we're adding commute time back to people's lives. So employers are looking for solutions to help address the absenteeism and lost productivity and burnout. And then the second piece would be we certainly are seeing on our larger groups in finalist presentations and ask, and I think Griffin, you might have been on a couple, where the employer says, well, we're rolling out this voluntary product with Trustmark and we may get 20, 25% participation. But what about the rest of the employee population that is not enrolled? How can we get access to Cariloop? And in that situation, Cariloop certainly is willing to work with this employer, and you as the broker can, work with Trustmark to see if there's any type of, negotiation on their typical retail costs that possibly could be available. Griffin, I'm hoping I'm not getting into your lane on that, but we've had that ask recently. So
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think that's a true testament of a good benefit is when people start talking about it, they're like, well, everybody should get this. And I totally agree. That's kind of where this has gotten to is starting to see some more referrals on an enterprise level. And it's been nice because we've created a referral partnership with Trustmark that has, best in class pricing from the employer side. So we've definitely turned and started to see some of these where it started as policyholders having access to Cariloop into having a broader HR discussion with the employer team on how can you roll this out more broadly. That's absolutely true.
Yeah, and I think a lot of, what all of us on this call have in our discussions with employers, inevitably a question will come up. Okay, yeah, I totally understand the importance of long-term care insurance. I understand needing to think about my future and planning for that and having asset protection in place. But what about now? I would say, I don't know if everybody's experience is the same, but in maybe uh 40-50% of the group calls that I have, there's a question about could I get this for mom and dad? Could I get this for a sibling? I have, somebody now in my life who really needs assistance. And oftentimes without a solution like Carrie Loop, you know, there's not much that you can say out of the box with just a product offering that could help somebody in the here and now, besides having the coverage should it happen tomorrow. So I think it's a really important way to round out that discussion and know that it's not something that's just going to sit in a drawer until you need it. If you have things going on in your life right now that need addressing with regard to caregiving, you've got that solution.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions for Griffin and Drew while we've got them with us today? Whether it comes to enrollment, whether it comes to Cariloop services in general. Now, Griffin, we work with a lot of employer groups, and Trustmark is actually expanding their net quite a bit to be able to work with a lot of the smaller groups that we work with. But what group size do you all normally work with on sort of a standalone, like say outside of Life Plus Care scenario, or in states where maybe we don't have Life Plus Care available yet?
Yeah. Yeah, we're a very scalable solution. I would say, our smallest client is typically about 100 employees. But we go way far up market also into the 100,000 plus space. We very scalable, I would say, but 100 is typically the minimum we see in the employer side.
Any thoughts on um, maybe non-traditional groups? For example, PEOs are
Yeah.
more kind of employer-minded, but we and a number of people in our network also work with trade associations quite a bit.
Yeah, we've so we've dipped the toe and started seeing more. We would call it like emerging markets on our side. PEOs is one. So Insperity is the big PEO that we also partner with. We are talking to a few others. As you guys can appreciate, PEOs are always interesting because margins and dollars and everything is so razor tight.
Sure.
But we definitely do see some interest from PEOs. I would say some of the larger ones like a TriNet, Total Source, Insperity. We are starting to see interest from a wealth management perspective. That's probably been another market we've seen some interest in financial advisors offering Cariloop to their clients. So it's like a B2B to C type of motion. Um, but I would say, yeah, trade alliance, like those, none of those other ones yet. I would say we definitely have interest in expanding to those. But as it sits right now, it's mostly employer with Trustmark and then a few other like channel partner relationships.
Gotcha. Anybody else? I'll continue to hog these two while I've got them and pick their brain. But if there are any other questions about how Carry Loop works, feel free to shoot them out there. Are you available in all 50 states
All
currently?
50 states, multinational. Also, we support a lot of multinational firms globally. So, yeah, definitely, yeah, full coverage model.
Perfect. So for those who are interested in working with Cariloop, obviously with Life Plus Care, kind of inseparable there. So if you've got cases going on with Life Plus Care, you're going to want to get closer to Cariloop just to know them and to be able to promote them as a solution. But Griffin, other than that, where can we find you all? Where would the typical entry point be for somebody who is interested and has an opportunity that might be a fit?
Me. It's the easiest answer in the world. I am typically the catch-all. In addition to owning I also run our growth team. So yeah, it's definitely usually start with me, and then that's usually a good place to at least start the journey. I'll probably bring in some people along the way, but
Good deal. From either of you, Griffin or Drew, any other takeaways you'd like to leave the audience with today?
Sure. The best way to get to know the Cariloop Trustmark combination would be to work with Buddy Insurance, send them a census on a group, preferably 100 plus lives, so you can take advantage of some some options that Trustmark offers, and you can get to see how it works in real time as we would move forward.
Yeah, and you are overdue, my friend. We got to get you in for a study group session quite soon because I know you've got a lot of changes going on beyond just the addition of Cariloop, with Life Plus Care especially. And we actually went out for a visit to meet with the folks at Trustmark. Wonderful company, wonderful people. Um, really committed to a fantastic level of service. So we will get Drew on one of these Thursdays to do a little overview. If it's been a while since you've looked at Trustmark, we want to reintroduce you because they've got a lot more for everyone going on right about now. So we'll put that in the calendar. Otherwise, I think it's It's okay to make it a short one today, unless anybody else has any questions. Otherwise, I can set you free. We'll just give it a quick sec. We're all experts.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, Griffin and Drew, appreciate your time. Thank you for showing us a little bit more about what you do. We really appreciate it. And for everybody else, be well, and we will see you this time next week.
Thank you guys for having me.
Of
Thank you.
course,
Take
have a
care.
good one.